Today I'm going to be showing you how to use ChatGPT, Gemini, other AI tools to rewrite your collection descriptions to be as SEO optimized as possible. And I'm going to be giving away all the templates I have, this spreadsheet here. I even have an automation here that you'll be able to duplicate if you have a lot of collection pages that you need to rewrite. This is going to be the best way to do that. Or if you just have a few that you have to rewrite, you'll have the prompts to do it manually. But this is just a great way to make sure all your collection pages are written in the correct format, the format that I think is correct, has really good internal linking, and is relevant to how people are talking about whatever the collection is or group of products is, by tapping into people data about the people always also asked. And so I'm just gonna dive right into it here. So I'll walk you through it step by step so you can do this on your own. And in the end, you'll just be able to, if you're doing it in bulk, download this spreadsheet and upload it to your Shopify, update everything at the same time, or your WordPress or whatever tool you're using. And so we'll just dive right into it here.
Hey, real quick, if you're an e-com store doing at least 100K per month and you're looking to help to drive more revenue from organic search and from AI search, book a call below. There's a link down there, and I can help you troubleshoot whatever your issues you're running into, and I can figure out if I can actually help you out. No strings attached, of course. And yeah, click the link to book a call down there, and hope to talk soon.
So first step is going to be to duplicate this template here, this spreadsheet, make your own copy so you're able to edit it. Second step, which I'm just going to breeze through the first few steps here because they're pretty easy to figure out, is to somehow, either through Screaming Frog, like a website crawler, or just exporting it directly from Shopify or WordPress using an app like Matrixify for Shopify or import export for WordPress, is to collect all the data for each collection page. And all you're going to need here is the page title, the meta description, and the H1, so all these green columns, and the URL, of course. All these green columns here. And just paste them into this first tab, collection page data tab. And I just have 20 example pages here. If you have more than 20, obviously just paste it into here, make sure the columns match up. And then for all these yellow, orange columns, you'll have to copy it down. So as a quick example, you'll just have to get these because these are all calculated fields. So you can just select it and then hit Command D or Control D to copy it all the way down, and you'll be good to go. So that's step one. Step two is you're going to need to get data from your Google Search Console so that you have the right keywords to target in your collection descriptions. You can do the keyword research manually. If you have a specific keyword you want to go off of, I find it easier to just pull the keywords these pages are already ranking for to give you a starting point. And then if you want to go back in and optimize for a specific keyword, then you can of course do that. But so the way to get this data is, unfortunately, you can't do it through Search Console directly, just because of the way the data exports is not what we want here. What we want is to get every keyword that all your collection pages are ranking for. So you can see there's a lot of rows here, 11,000 rows, and there's a lot of keywords for each unique URL, and then it's sorted by number of impressions. So the easiest way to do that is actually to create a Looker Studio report. It's the easiest way I found. If you have an easier way, feel free to let me know in the comments. But the reason this works well is because you're able to create a table, which you can just do by adding a chart here, just a table. And then on the side here, you add the dimensions of landing page and query. So those pull up. And then the metric of impressions, and then filter out all branded keywords, just because you don't want every collection page to have the name of your brand in it as the primary keyword, or at least in some cases that might happen. And so just filter out the brand name here, and just be careful to choose a phrase that only excludes your brand term and not potentially generic terms. So for example, a client of mine, Roof Nest, sells rooftop tents. So if I were to exclude the word roof, I'd be excluding roof nest and rooftop tents, and obviously we want to keep rooftop tents. In this case, the name is just not related to the product, so we're safe. But if you're in that camp, just be careful there. And then once you have the data, just click these three dots in the corner, hit export. I like to open it up in just a new Google Sheet, and this will load. And then what I do is just filter all the landing pages, because this is going to include everything. Most likely, it's easier to filter out in the spreadsheet than in the Looker Studio report. So I just do text contains collections. Most websites have folders like collections. If yours is set up differently, use a different identifier. And then you can just copy this export. It should look exactly the same as the template, and just paste it in here. And that is that. So what that is going to do is it'll populate this tab over here, which you shouldn't touch because it's fully generated with a each formula. And this is just going to be used in the collection page data here. It's going to pull in the top keyword and then the next top 9 keywords. So those would be secondary keywords you can use. And that will be used in the prompts that we use to write the collection description. So then those are the two data collecting steps. Now we're going to get into the actual prompting. And step one of this is to basically use AI to help you write a good prompt for writing the collection descriptions. And the way I do that is if you pop into this AI writing style prompt tab, what's going to happen here is this is going to populate with all of the meta description data, page title and meta description combos for every page that you have listed here. And then that is going to feed into this list, or this prompt here, that you can just copy, go into Gemini. And I suggest using Gemini for this because it has a larger token context window. And so if you have a really long list of collection pages, you're not going to run out of tokens. And so if you just run that prompt, it's going to spit out this just JSON array of page titles and meta descriptions that we can use in the prompt, just to make it easier for the AI to know all the page title meta description pairs. And we're going to run this into, so just copy that, come back to the spreadsheet here, paste it into this green cell here, and then that is going to populate this prompt. And if this is empty, it's going to tell you to paste the JSON in here. So we're going to go ahead and do that. And then it's going to create this prompt, which is basically saying, here's a bunch of the existing meta descriptions we have written. Generalize the rules and the writing style, and create a set of rules we can use to write anything in the same tone of voice, style, etc. And you're going to paste that into ChatGPT or Gemini again, and it is going to give you a long list of rules that we'll just keep here for now, and we will use in the automation bit, or in the, if you're not automating it, just manually doing the collection pages. So it's pretty straightforward. A couple things to look out for is this is a join function, which has a limit of 50,000 characters. And so if it exceeds that limit, you're going to get an error. And then in that case, you'll just have to go into here and manually copy paste this into Gemini. So you'll just select everything in this column, copy it, and then paste it in there. And then you'll have to manually paste the prompt itself into Gemini, which you can get here. So once you do that, just keep that you can keep that in Gemini for now. We'll come back for it. Then the next step here is technically optional, but I highly recommend doing it. And that is pulling in people also asked data for every single one of your keywords that you've picked for each collection page. And the best way I found to do it is, especially if you have a lot of pages, I highly recommend figuring out this N8N template, which is pretty simple to follow. And if you're familiar with it, then good for you. If you're not, it's not too hard, but it's really essential if you have a lot of pages to do, but you can also do it manually. So the way I do it is, again, with this automation here. And when I originally did this for the most recent client, I did it there was almost 500 pages, so I had to do it this way. But you'll have to, if you want to do it manually, and depending on how many searches you need to do, you'll have to just subscribe to alsoasked.com, to get this data. If you only have like 10 collection pages, you can probably just Google it and manually copy paste what pops up in Google. This is just a simpler way to do it. If you do have a lot of pages and need to use this automation, you're going to have to subscribe to this, which I know is kind of annoying, but you can just do it once and then immediately cancel, so you only get charged once. It's worth the $60 in my opinion, because you're going to get the collection pages that the AI writes are going to be much more detailed. It's going to have way more context about what the keyword is, right? Because it's going to be pulling in all the different questions people are asking about the same topic that the keyword is around. And so you can skip this step, but your descriptions are going to just be a lot more generic and not quite as good. The other benefit is that you are going to be answering some of the most important questions that pop up for people on each of your collection pages, and that's going to actually help rank better. So you're not only just creating a better description, you're going to be improving your chances of ranking well, because you're going to be answering questions people are actually asking about these keywords. And if you do use the automation, you unfortunately have to go with this pro level to get the API access. But assuming you're going to do this, follow along here. If not, you can skip ahead or do it manually, but I'll just go over how to quickly use this little automation here. So first things first is you're going to have to open this. You can make a free account, I think, free trial for any den. If not, it's like $20 a month. Or if you want to go the super cheap route, you can host it yourself, which is easier than it sounds. You can just look up a YouTube tutorial on how to do it. I know it's a lot of work, but I promise it's worth it if you have a lot of pages. You're going to want to connect your Google Sheets account, your OpenAI account, and your People Also Asked account, which, if you're not familiar with how API keys and webhooks work, again, you can just find a quick YouTube tutorial. It's not as hard as it sounds, but essentially you'll go through and connect your Google Sheet that has it, choose the collection page data sheet tab within that, and then next click into this BAA API request, add your API key from your account, which is easy to get once you subscribe and log in. And you'll have to connect your Google Sheet here as well into this one, connect your OpenAI account here, connect Google Sheet one more time here, and then connect this trigger up here, run it, and what that'll do is populate this column with all the PAA data. So the way this is working is you're pulling the data in from here. If nothing gets returned, then it just basically continues on to the next one. And if something does get returned, you can use this prompt here because it's going to return a lot of data most likely, and then you want to refine it to just the top few questions that are relevant to your specific website. And what gets pasted into here is just going to be only the questions that are most likely relevant to writing collection pages, and so more product focused questions, stuff like that, rather than every question under the sun. So it does some filtering for you. You'll have to run that automation for every single page, and it'll loop through until it's done. Sometimes it might get hung up and you have to restart it, but that's fine. So just run it, and it might take a while depending on how many pages you have. It could take like 20 minutes or so, but you'll just have to keep an eye on it and start and rerun it if it gets hung up by some API limiter or whatever. And so the other option is, of course, to do that manually and just manually copy paste the data into this field. But depending on how many pages you have, that could take a long time. So that is an optional step, and I highly recommend it though. But once you have that, the collection descriptions that we write are going to be a lot easier, or a lot better. And so that is that. Then we can finally get to actually writing the collection descriptions. So, actually there's one more thing. This is truly optional. If you have a set of collection pages that you want to rank really well, or it's your most important collection page that you want to put a lot of focus into, what you can do is use this section here. And it's very similar to the AI writing style process. Basically, you paste all your high priority pages into here, copy these functions down so all this data populates, and then add your keywords in here, which are just your anchor text that you want for So basically, what this is going to make sure that these pages get internally linked in every single collection description you write. Not every page every time, but it'll choose randomly, basically, based from the collection description prompt that I have. And basically all you have to do is populate this data. Again, copy this prompt, put it into Gemini, and it will spit out JSON with the URL, the anchor text options that you provided in the sheet, and then the page type, product or collection. Could be both, depending on which ones are high priority to you. And then that's going to fit into our actual collection page prompt. And so that's a truly optional step. If you don't have any pages that you actually want to rank better than others, then you can skip that one. But the last step here is, again, this is going to manually combine the URL of each collection page, the keywords, etc. And you can use this prompt to turn that into a JSON output for the prompt that we're going to use. And this is all going to make sense in a second. It may be getting a little confusing here, but we're going to land the plane here in a sec. And this is again page URL, page title, secondary keyword. What this is going to be doing is gives the AI literally every single collection page that you have. And when it's writing the internal links in each collection page, it's able to find relevant collection pages that are closely related and internally linked to those. So you're not just linking to random collection pages on your site, you're linking to related pages. And so it figures that out by the page title and the keywords that we're giving. And so once that is done, you'll have everything you need to finally get these collection pages written. You'll want to rehook up this trigger here to this workflow, the Write Collections Descriptions workflow. Do the same thing you did for PAA. If you didn't watch that section, basically just connect to your Google Sheets document. Then you'll have to choose the correct sheet and filter this by collection description. HTML is blank, so just leave that blank. And then keep this limit on here for 10 or 1, so you can run the automation one by one at first. Make sure the output that you're seeing looks good to you, and then you can tweak it a little bit, and there's space in the prompt here for you to tweak it based on the outputs that you're getting, and you give it custom instructions based on how you're specific to your brand, right? So the next step here is to hook up your API or OpenAI account to this chat model. I have tested other LLMs for this purpose, and ChatGPT was the best that I found. So you can test them out by just swapping this little node out for a different model, but I found this one works best. And so next step is to go into the collection description writer agent here. There's a system message and a user message. You'll see in both of these that there are going to be little bracketed areas, and this is where you're going to paste in all the stuff that we built earlier to build out the full prompt. So if, as you're running test runs and you're getting outputs that you don't like, you can add custom instructions here based on what you're seeing so that it doesn't continue to make those same mistakes. And then you have this prompt here, which you don't have to change. This is the structured template for how it's going to output the collection description. And this is the template or the structure that I found works the best. But if you want to tweak it a little bit, you can take away certain headers, add certain headers, whatever you want. You can even tweak this to give a consistent output across all the collection pages rather than just letting it write the H2s and the H3s each time. But the big thing in this template that you'll have to keep an eye on is if you want to use those priority pages that we talked about, you'll have to paste that JSON output that you got earlier, which was this one right here. And so, for example, you'd paste that here, and these are all American flags. So in this short description of priority pages, I would say always include a link to the American flag pages from the following list. You'll paste that in, and it says when creating links, choose one of the provided anchor text at random, and that will be pulling the anchor text options for each link. And then it gives you can say where it says priority collection pages, I would write something like top American flag products or something like that, just however you want to preface the links. And then it's going to put in links here spaced out by this little bar. And if you're not going to be using the priority pages, you can just delete that whole section. But if you are, then swap out the JSON here and all the other things that I showed you. Otherwise, this section here is just going to find related collection pages based on the list of collection pages we're going to give, which we paste in here. So this is the end of the template here. And then it says, here's a list of every collection page. Then you paste go back to Gemini, get the list of all your collection pages, paste that here. And that could be quite long depending on how many pages you have. And then go back to Gemini again. You're going to want to copy all these rules and of course read through them. Make sure it actually makes sense for your brand. Tweak it a little bit as needed. You can paste all those rules here. And then that is, besides the custom instruction, which you'll add after doing a few test runs, figuring out what works, what doesn't, that is the entire system message. And then for the user message, which is the actual prompt, you shouldn't have to change anything because this is all pulled in dynamically from the Google Sheet. The only thing you do have to, if you're not doing the PAA data, you can just delete this section here. Otherwise, it'll populate nothing and you'll probably get some weird made up questions. So if you're not using that, definitely delete this section. Otherwise, keep it in. And from there, you just run it. It's going to write the description. Then I just have this checker for M dashes because that's a really easy way to tell something was written by AI and turns a lot of people off. And so I just have a little checker to remove M dashes, and then it pastes it back into the sheet right here. And so that's that. And the last thing you'll have to do is, this will take a while because like I said, you'll want to do it one by one at first, make sure the output looks good, and then update the custom instructions based on the output. And then once you have it in a good spot, run the whole thing. Again, depending on how many pages, it could take a long time. This one will probably take longer than this one just because it's a little bit slower. But again, keep an eye on it, restart it if it ever gets hung up for any reason. And then once you are done with that, I recommend going through a similar process of, well, I would use this check descriptions automation. Again, you'll have to disconnect the trigger and paste it, connect it to this one. Go through the same process, connect the Google Sheets, connect your AI account. And then basically what you'll want to do is, this one is less templated for you. I didn't put a template together because it depends on how the outputs look, which is going to be different for everyone depending on topics and keywords and stuff like that. But basically just go through each one of these outputs that it gives you and just open up a new prompt. Be like, here are examples of collection descriptions. Sorry, my laptop almost died there. You'll have to basically look at the outputs and basically ask ChatGPT or Gemini, say, man, does anything about this look weird? Or worded weirdly, or just bad grammar or misspellings or anything like that. See what it tells you. Figure out which suggestions you like and which ones you don't like. And in a new prompt, be like, here are suggestions that I found useful. Here are all the suggestions that I didn't find useful. Create a set of rules that I can use to prompt ChatGPT to critique all these collection pages that it just wrote. And then whatever that rule set you get out of that output, paste into here, just in the system prompt. And so it has that set of rules, so it knows what to look for when critiquing them. And then you can just run this prompt here. And it basically just says, critique each collection page depending on the set of rules provided. If it all looks good, just return looks good. If something looks wrong, highlight the issues. And then you can, again, just kind of look at the different outputs, tweak the prompt. And then when you feel like you've got a good spot, you're in a good spot of how it works and the critiques that it's giving, you can run this automation to go through each page and it'll give you all the issues here. And then you can go in and manually fix things up depending on how bad they are. And once you're done with that, you'll have a lot of really good collection pages written. And from there, it's just a matter of either manually updating your website or uploading it in bulk through an app like Matrixify for Shopify. And one thing to note is the output is going to be in HTML. So if you're doing it manually, go into your collection page editor and click on the little text editor thing that changes it from rich text to HTML and just paste it there. If you're using the app, you don't have to worry about that. It'll figure it out for you. But this is the process I use to write collection descriptions in bulk for when I have clients that have hundreds of collection pages that we have to rewrite, or even 10 or even dozens. It's just a lot more efficient. The output is really good if you follow all these steps, especially stick to the people also asked. And so the spreadsheet is going to be linked in the description. The N8N automation is going to be linked, so you can just duplicate it and change in all your API keys and connect to the right Google Sheet. And then you should just be able to follow this video step by step. So let me know what you think. It's quite a long video. Hopefully that was useful to you. Should save you a lot of time and get you some well-optimized collection descriptions. So if you made it this far into the video, a real one, drop a comment and let me know you finished the whole thing. If you have any questions, shoot me an email, or you can book a call with me to go over something very specific to your brand. Other than that, that is it. Have a great rest of your day.